Hi, welcome back to Mind Control. Hope you enjoy the video.
Listen to me, man. You have a great life in front of you. But your great life is in front of you. It's not behind you. What you did back there ain't got nothing to do with what God got for you. What you did back there was learn the lessons to get you to where you are at this particular moment right here. But what God got for you, do you know, man, that you can actually mess your life completely up? You can jack it all the way up and you can turn around and get it right. Do you understand that? Do you understand that you could have had a baby out of wedlock and still be all right? Do you know that you can be divorced multiple times and still be okay? Do you understand that you cannot have a degree and still be just fine? You wanna know how I know? Because I'm telling you what I know. I lost everything twice. I don't know if you've ever lost everything before, but I've been bottomed out twice. I done seen rock bottom 2 times. I've been through some walls up in here, man. I'm just trying to tell you, man, God is really with you. You ain't gotta believe me. You ain't gotta believe me. But keep doing it without God. Let me know how it worked for you. Matter of fact, write a book on how to make it without God. Because I wanna read it. I wanna read the first page. And then I wanna read the last page, because there ain't gonna be but 2. You can jack your life all the way up. God is in the forgiving business. You can make all the mistakes you wanna make or think you shouldn't make. God is in the get it together business. If you got dreams and visions, I got news for you. God is in the make your dream come true business. He did it for me, how he won't do it for you? A lot of y'all better than me. I'm just gonna flat out tell you. Most of y'all ain't done what I had to do to get to where I am today. You just ain't had to do this type of dirt. You ain't been homeless, so what true? You ain't got to scrap like me. Most of y'all didn't come, you're not old as me. I've overcome it all because I have a relationship with him. And you can listen to me and tell that I'm not a perfect person. I am not a perfect Christian. I have my flaws. I am a flawed human being. But guess what? You are too. You ain't got it all together. I dare you to say you do. I make a lot of money, man. But guess what? I ain't got it all together. I'm hurting. I'm hurting, man. Everybody tripping through something. Everybody, I don't care who you are. You're going through something. But if you got God, you can make it. I'm just telling you this little piece of information. I don't see most of y'all most of the time. So you're sitting here, you're kind of looking at me a little bit odd. Why Steve talking like this stuff? I'm just trying to put you on game. Because let me tell you, all y'all want to be successful. And you want to be happy, but you got to get there. It's a shortcut to getting there. The shortcut to getting there is the relationship with God. If you try it without it, you're going to fail miserably. You're going to sink, man. It's going to be ugly for you. Now, this is what you got to do. Identify your gift and get busy with it. God gave all of you a gift. Identify your gift. It is the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. That's your gift. Get busy at that. If it's drawing, if it's teaching, if it's sharing, if it's caregiving, he put that gift inside of you. He didn't hide it under a rock or put it under the mountain or put it on the mountain somewhere. He put the gift in you. And you look at me any kind of way you want to. What I'm just telling you is real. That's how you become successful. Identify your God-given gift, what he gave you at birth. If you do that, God will open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing that you won't have room enough to receive.
So what are the keys to living a good life? Here's number 1, productivity. You really won't be happy if you don't produce. 6/7 of our life was to be devoted to labor and work, to produce a work of art, to produce a crop of corn, to produce a good family, to produce an enterprise. That's the essence of life in its best form. First is to be a producer. Here's what all of us have the miracle, and it's almost godlike in its potential, the ability to recreate. Only God can create. The seed, the soil, the sunshine, the rain, the seasons, the miracle of life. But here's what humans can do: recreate those components into a harvest. by planting the seed, carefully taking care of it in the summer, reaping the rewards in the harvest. We call that recreation. We can't make a tree, but we can use the tree for wood to build a house, shelter for our family. It's called recreation. It's godlike in terms of potential. To recreate, to take your hours and your energy and your life and a bit of skill and actually recreate a career, a future, possibilities, fortune. Recreate. The key is to use it. And you won't be happy if you aren't really extending yourself. Because here's really the goal of the human adventure: the full development of all your potential. That's the goal, the full development of all your potential. Why not see how far you can go, how much you can earn, how much you can share, how much you can give? Why not see what all you could be, what you could become?
23 years old, I'm living in a little apartment in Lake Charles, Louisiana, little tiny duplex. I lived on one half of this thing. And me and my dog, Capo. I don't know what I was doing trying to take care of a dog. I couldn't even take care of myself. One rainy night, this dude, Danny, comes in with drugs. Another day where I said, I'm going to quit today. Now it's 11 o'clock at night. I didn't quit. 10 times I failed again. Danny leaves the house, and when Danny leaves the house, I didn't know, but he set it up to rob me and beat me up. Danny leaves the house, and I let him out the front door, and this other big dude in the rain, a rainy Louisiana night, puts a .45 caliber pistol in my face right here. Okay, I had a plate in my hand. I had something to eat, and I had a plate when I walked Danny to the door, and this guy had to be this big, hovered over me with a gun in my face, and when he did, my reaction was to hit him with the plate in the face. You know, I broke this plate. It was an unbreakable plate, one of those plates you can't break. And I broke it in his face, like just crack it in his face. Thing breaks, and he becomes like a monster. This scar right here in my head is, he took that .45 caliber and jammed it in my face. Like, I don't mean jammed it, I mean cracked me right here in the forehead. My life changes now. I'm getting ready to get cracked so many times here. I'm getting ready to get the lesson of my life of where I'm really living. I already knew it, but this was the exclamation mark on where my life had gone from being a good kid to this far from dying. He hits me here. He cracks me over both my eyes here, underneath these two eyes. What's the word? Incapacitates both of my arms. Incapacitates both of my arms because he takes and chops them both behind the elbows so you can't use your arms. Like literally, I'm walking around, I can't move my arms. Blood's coming down. Every wall in this apartment, in this room, and the ceiling has blood on it. They ransacked the house, robbed me of a little bit of money, and literally leave me on the floor for a dead man. My dog's in the back. My dog's locked up in the back, the Doberman. They set it up to do this. This is what happens when you hang around bad people. Sooner or later, a day's gonna come where you're gonna pay the price. I get rushed to the hospital. My girlfriend's there. She's in the back. She comes out, gets me to the hospital. I spent 3 days in a hospital. Actually, I go to the hospital. They put in 70 stitches in my head and face. Like my whole face is just carved up. The sheriff's department comes because they know something bad's happening. And I'm like, I'm fine, I can go home. They stitch me up. I go home to my mother. I walk into my mother's house in the little brick house that I resented so much. And I walk to the house, and I go to the house in the back door. I knock on the back door. I'm beat up now, okay? Face is swollen. My mom comes to the door, and she's like, what? What? Where's my son at? Where's my son at? I'm like, Mom, I am your son. Where is my son? Nobody could recognize who I was. That's how beat up I was. I go in the house. I try to lay down. She puts me in this, on a couch, and I try to lay down there. And the hospital doesn't want me to go to sleep because I could literally die. So they bring me back to the hospital. I spend 3 days in the hospital. And I'm like, I'm done. No more drugs. Okay, literally, I can't even recognize myself anymore. No more drugs. I'm done using drugs, okay? Guess what happens? I'm using drugs 15 minutes later, 10 times a day in the hospital. See, you would think, looking back, I would think this would be the day I would quit. For 2 more years, I would use drugs every day. Couldn't get out, couldn't quit, okay? Look, nobody starts using drugs and thinks they're going to be a drug addict. I didn't. I started using drugs, and for some reason, something happened where those drugs just took over. My mom, at the age of 25, my mom says to me, "You're no longer welcome in my home. You're no longer welcome in my business. I don't want to see you anymore." And that was the day my life turned. So 24 hours later, I was in a treatment center because my mom had the courage to say, "Enough is enough. I'm done." Really, everybody was pretty much done with me at this point. You know, my older brother died when I was 20. So 3 years, well, I guess, yeah, 5 years before this, my older brother dies. He was worried about me. All I know at this point, I lost my dad when I was 10. I lost my brother when I was 20. I lost, you know, I gave up my career and maybe I'm gonna be a baseball player to drugs. I've lost 5 or 6 jobs now, and I'm a loser. I'm a total loser. But I do have this little light inside of me that says I'm special. I have this little thing inside of me that says, hey, you are special, you know? You have something. But it was just covered up in all this stuff and all these problems and the drugs and the bad friends and the bad choices. So my mom finally says, enough is enough. Don't come back here anymore. I'm done. I could tell it was hard for her. I'm in a treatment center in the next 24 hours. I go to this treatment center. I'm there 30 days. For the first 30 days in 7, 8, 9 years, I don't use drugs. Wow. I don't have to use drugs. Finally, that thing where I said I was quitting 10 times a day, for the first time in my life, I was able to quit successfully. I'm leaving the treatment center when the insurance ran out, because that's how those work. When the money runs out, they boot you to the curb. I'm terrified, scared to go back to society. I don't have any friends that aren't using drugs. My girlfriend was using drugs. Everybody around me, everybody I knew used drugs. And I'm going back to a job where even at the job I had, they used drugs. And I'm like, I'm going back to an environment. I have to cut off all my friends. Not really friends. I got to cut off all the enemies, right? And I got to start over. And before I leave, the counselor grabs me and the counselor says to me, look, dude, I'll see you back here. Probably, you know, if you don't die, I'll see you back here. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm not coming back here. And he's like, oh, no, you're coming back. And then he gives me the lecture. He's like, you'll never make it. See, when you go to a treatment center, you tell them everything about your life. Like all your secrets, all your inhibitions, and your, you know, the things you want to do in your life, right? And so I'm telling them in this thing, everything I've done wrong. I share my whole life, but I also share with them what I want to do, my inspiration in life. I'm going to write books. I'm going to speak to audiences. I'm going to help people. I'm going to tell people their story about drugs and how damaging they are. And I'm going to be somebody, I tell them. And they're like, no, dude. You're a drug addict. And all you're ever going to be, this is what the counselor tells me, all you're ever going to be is a drug addict. You need to give up all the ideas of writing books, speaking to audiences, being rich. I always wanted to be rich. I wanted financially to be rich my whole life. I wanted to be my dad. I wanted to be the guy that could take care of his family. He said, you need to give up all those ideas and settle for one thing, not use drugs. If the day ends and you don't use drugs, Grant, that is a good day for you.
Anybody can dream it, but you'll never see it until you're willing to be committed to it. I was telling somebody the other day, when I didn't have anything, church didn't have any members, I'd get off work, working at Cardone, and drive up the road and work on the church till I had to turn around and go back to work. We worked when we didn't have food. We worked when we didn't have lights. I was putting my whole check in the offering, all of it, trying to keep it going. When I finally got some staff, I went on the road preaching.
And whatever I made on the road preaching, I brought it home to make the payroll of the staff. And sometimes I got them paid and couldn't pay me. Commitments. Looked like a fool. Didn't have any clothes. Suits was falling off me. Lining wore out my clothes. Couldn't send them to the cleaners. Had to wash my suit in the washing machine. They laughed at me. Looked like an old raggedy country preacher. I had holes in my shoes. I couldn't kneel down and pray because if I knelt down to pray, they would see holes in my shoes. They laughed at me. They said that boy's lost his mind. He'll never be nothing. He stutters. He's got a lisp when he speaks. He'll never be a preacher. I don't care what you say. If you are committed to what you believe.
He wants to rip you until you become impotent and so impoverished in your spirit that you are an empty building, a ghost town, a vacant house. Your lights are on, nobody's at home. You're going through the motions of life with the form of godliness, denying the power thereof. He doesn't mind how many days you live as long as you don't live in the days that you have. He wants to rob you and rape you and abuse you. In fact, the enemy comes to kill, to steal, and to destroy. He wants to sabotage your success because you were created to win. You were carved to win. You were set aside to win. You were formed to win. The potter meant for you to be a successful vessel of honor, that you might be meat for the master's use. You were not meant to fail. You were not meant to die. You were not meant to quit. You were not meant to collapse. You were meant to live. Doctors still can't figure out why the human body dies, because the body was meant to rebuild itself, refurbish itself, re-strengthen itself. You were not meant to faint. You were not meant to collapse. You were not meant to have a nervous breakdown, a stress attack, a migraine headache, break out in nervous conditions and rashes and all types of disease and hypertension and have stress attacks and heart attacks and nervous breakdowns. You were not meant to lose it, lose control, break out, kick the dog, slap the cat, kill the children, beat the wife, dog the children. You were not meant to be a failure. You were not meant to be destitute, to be lonely, to be hungry, to be isolated, to be driven. You were meant to be the head and not the tail, above only and not the beneath. You were meant to prosper and live in goodly houses. You are children of the King, the heavenly host. The God of Israel dwells in the midst of you. Touch somebody, tell them you don't even know who I am.
Thank you so much for watching till the end. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments section. Please also like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and families. Please watch our other motivational videos. Thank you again.
Expand yourself. Take yourself out your comfort zone. If you stay in your comfort zone, that's where you will fail. Success is not a comfortable procedure. It is a very uncomfortable thing to attempt. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you ever want to be successful.
I fought a good fight. I fought for my kids, and I fought for what was right, and I fought for my good health. And I fought for a good career that would bless my family. I fought a good fight. The encroachment. Opposites are in conflict, and we're in the middle. And if you want something valuable, you got to fight for it.
If you get beat, unless you're dead, you are not defeated, and you have not failed. What you've done is you've learned. You've gained experience, and you're still alive. So get up and go get after it.
Not only have I fought a good fight, I fought a good fight, and I kept the faith. See, that's the deal. Keep faith with your family. Fight like crazy and keep faith. Fight the enemy and keep faith.
You have comeback power. When something happens to you, don't buy into what has happened to you. Buy into, I'm getting up out of here. I'm going to change this situation. This does not work for me, and I don't have the luxury of being depressed. I need to clear my head.
But let me tell you what ought to cause great joy to come to your life is if you'd stop comparing yourself to other people and you would just remember where you came from and remember where you started. You're doing more. You're seeing more. You're achieving more. But if you start comparing yourself with someone else, you can get discouraged because they're doing more maybe than you're doing.
You got to clear your head so that the decision that you make represents the best in you. Be still and know that you're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. You got to assure yourself. You have to encourage yourself. You have to clear your mind.
You have a great life in front of you. But your great life is in front of you. It's not behind you. What you did back there ain't got nothing to do with what God got for you. What you did back there was learn the lessons to get you to where you are at this particular moment right here.
The ability to learn to say no and not to feel guilty about it, to me, is about the greatest success I have achieved. It's all a part of a process for growing for me. To me, to have the kind of internal strength and internal courage it takes to say, no, I will not let you treat me this way, is what success is all about. I will not be treated this way. I demand only the best for myself.
I fought one hell of a fight. Are there any fighters in here? I mean, I fought such a good fight that when I look at what other people call a fight, what they call a fight is what I call normal. I fought my way up. I fought to get to work. I fought to stand. I fought to carry on. I fought to live. I fought to get out of bed. I fought with my fears, my anxieties, my insecurities. I fought with haters, liars, backbiters, and betrayers. And many times I laid in the bed, I couldn't go to sleep because I was fighting with myself. I fought.
Take ownership. Take extreme ownership. Don't make excuses. Don't blame any other person or any other thing. Don't hide your delicate pride from the truth. Take ownership of everything in your world, the good and the bad. Everyone took ownership of their mistakes. Everyone took ownership of the problems. Take ownership of your job, of your future, and take ownership of your life. And lead. Lead yourself and your team and the people in your life. Lead them all to victory.
Make your move before you're ready. We're instructed in life to walk by faith and not by sight. See, you want to really begin to stretch yourself. You want to become a risk taker. Most people won't do that. See, most people engage in low life living, low risk living. This God said, if you're not willing to risk, you cannot grow. And if you cannot grow, you cannot become your best. And if you cannot become your best, you can't be happy. Then what else is there?
Anybody who's not ever willing to risk will never do very much in this world. And in all probability, you'll end up being quite bored with your life. A couple things that I said last night that I don't want you to forget is walking by faith is taking step one before you know what step two is. After a few times, you get a little more used to it and it's not quite as scary, but taking a step of faith is stepping out to do something when you don't know how it will be provided for. But you believe with all your heart that it's what God has told you to do.
Life is short and unpredictable. And so you want to begin to take some chances. You want to begin to challenge yourself and make it okay to fail and learn from your failures. Don't allow fear of failure to draw you in. You can't get out of life alive. You got to die to leave here.
You got to make changes. You got to say no. You got to disappoint people. You got to walk away from some stuff. You have to. And so, stepping away from things has felt much more dangerous to me than taking on 5 new things. Does anybody get it? Anybody out there, you get it?
trying to learn early the consequences of errors in judgment, poor behavior, and then try to learn from others that have gone down a disastrous road, and sure enough, they suffered the consequences, and you say, wow, then I'm going to change direction because I don't want those consequences. That's called being doubly smart, learning from errors in judgment. A few simple disciplines practiced every day. Now you're on the road to success. A few errors in judgment repeated, and you can turn anything around. Once you see that you're suffering either early consequences or severe consequences, all you have to do now is shut down that route, pick another destination, and start going that way with some easy disciplines that day by day gather momentum, and now one success leads to another, leads to another. Here's what we call that: disciplines. Easy disciplines. All disciplines affect each other. Every discipline affects the rest. Every lack of discipline affects the rest. What's interesting about success is starting a new discipline, a couple of new disciplines, and sure enough, once you've gained just a little bit of success in a couple of new disciplines, it'll inspire you to clean up the rest. It'll inspire you to fine-tune all of your other disciplines. Each lack of discipline affects the rest. Solving problems, going from errors in judgment to easy disciplines that can change it all. And if you start that journey, it doesn't take long for new signs of success to appear. I got such great results that first year that I made these incredible changes, learning extra skills, putting together extra disciplines, working harder on myself than on my job. The early signs of the fact that I was going to arrive at a more positive destination, I was hooked. It didn't take but a few months, less than a year, and I was hooked for life.
So when you begin to say, what is it that I want to leave? What contribution that I want to begin to make? What difference do I want to make in life? What is it that I want to do with the rest of the life that I have left? What chances I need to take? What risks do I need to begin to embrace? What fears do I need to step on? What areas of my life am I dead right now? What dreams? You can either live your dreams or live your fears. You have got to get to a point where you say, I'm sick and tired of living like this. There's got to be more. That's when people go out and strike out on their dreams. That's when people get out of relationships where they're dying together rather than growing together. See, you will when you put yourself in that kind of situation. I'm reminded of two frogs that were hopping down the road, and they fell into a bottle of milk. And one was hopping up and down for a while, and he drowned. He just gave up. But this other frog just kept on kicking. He wouldn't give up. He just kept on kicking. And pretty soon he churned that milk into butter and he walked on out.
I ask you to start that same journey. Let your new skills, new disciplines affect all of the rest. You really won't be happy if you don't produce. 6/7 of our life was to be devoted to labor and work, to produce a work of art, to produce a good family, to produce an enterprise. That's the essence of life in its best form. First is to be a producer. What is the reason for the seed and the soil and the sunshine and the rain and the seasons of life and its miracle? What's the reason for all of that? Here it is in a nutshell for your notes. To see what you can do with it. We've got books to read, and we've got classes to attend, and we've got, things to do and things to learn. And if you put it all together, you can have not only your health, but your fortune. Why not see what you can do with what you've been handed? As basic as seed and soil and sunshine and rain. Here's what all of us have the miracle, and it's almost godlike in its potential. The ability to recreate. Only God can create the sunshine, the rain, the seasons, the miracle of life. But here's what humans can do. Recreate those components into a harvest. By planting the seed, reaping the rewards in the harvest. We call that recreation. To recreate. To take your hours and your energy and your life and a bit of skill and create. Actually recreate a career, a future, possibilities, fortune. Recreate.
And that changed my life. It was Oliver Wendell Holmes who said that once a person's mind is expanded with an idea, it can never be satisfied to going back to where it was. So some of you are going to experience a breakthrough. Some of you are going to go back and look at your dreams and brush them off. Whatever goal that you have in mind, I want that to be a goal that will challenge you, something that will make you stretch. It was Osborne who said, unless you attempt to do something beyond that which you've already mastered, you will never grow. What is it that you looked at some point in time and you decided that you couldn't do it? That you talk yourself out of it? Whatever it is, bring it back out there. How you're going to do it? That will come to you in due time. See, you don't get in life what you want, ladies and gentlemen. You get in life what you are, not what you want. See, the good news is that we can always become more by working to develop ourselves. You've got to begin to take a look at your life and look at where are you right now? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What gives your life a sense of fulfillment, a sense of joy? What does a full, rich life means to you? What is it that you could love doing 7 days a week? Think about that.
That takes an incredible psychology. But in that psychology, we bump onto limits, and that's what you got to shift. And if your psychology is solid, then you got to say, where are the skills I'm missing? Because that's equally important.
And you won't be happy if you aren't really extending yourself. Because here's really the goal of the human adventure, the full development of all your potential. Why not see how far you can go, how much you can earn, how much you can share, how much you can give? Why not see what all you could be? That's why at my age I'm still working, traveling the world, doing what I've done for all these years, is to see what else I can become. How much stronger could I become? How much more refined could I be in my working with business partners and all the rest? Why not go for that ultimate challenge, on and on, as far as you can, take it as far as you can. Friendship is one of the greatest support systems in the world. Nourish it, protect it, look after it, develop it to the best of your ability. Next is your heritage. Keep your heritage alive. That's what's made America great, is a combination of a variety of heritages from all over the world. People have been coming from all the countries of the world to America, bringing with them their gifts. Gift of business ethics, gift of government, gift of music.
What we wish we had done is the voice of regret, speaking in a sorrowful tone at a time when there is no going back. This is regret.
Why do we live our life to be validated so much by strangers? Why do we let these people dictate how we feel about ourselves? Our self-esteem, our worth depends on if they like it or not. Who cares? Those people ain't gonna be there when times get hard. Those people don't even like you. Half of them don't. Those people don't really care about you.
When you're about to make those extreme jumps and leaps, it's always going to be your friends and your family. They will be the first ones to try and talk you out of what God has put on your heart to do.
All the rearview mirror does is allows you to see what you've passed and to prevent what you've passed from coming up on you again. The windshield is your future. It's where you're going. It's where you're headed. I hope you all picked up this today. And think about that, how that affects your life.
Every time you learn something new, you push something old out of your brain. See, a lot of people don't want to learn now, and that's okay. That's none of your business, none of my business. But if you're one of those like me, hungry, people that are hungry are willing to learn. You're keeping your mind active because you're engaged in this thing called life. You still have a presence. You're a force to be reckoned with. You have greatness in you. Yes, I'm going for it. There are more lives for me to touch, more lives for me to transform.
Don't dilute the vision and don't pollute it with how you want it. Don't weaken it by diluting it. Don't pollute it by adding to it. Some of the people you're trying to straighten out, they're not going to ever be straightened out. They're chickens when you're supposed to be sailing with the eagles. And that chicken with all that gawking and flapping ain't going to never fly. and you just chasing behind something that's not going to ever jump over 4 feet in the air. You could have been soaring with eagles, and you're fooling with them chickens. They're chickens. Feed them and keep on walking.
Enlightened self-interest needs to be educated. I will learn that life is not just the passing of time.
If you have a support system in place, that's beautiful. I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't really see what you see, but I'm in full support of you. Go make it happen. But in most cases, if you open up your mouth trying to explain to people what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, they will be the first people to try and talk you out.
I think that among the things that prevent us from acting is the fear of failure. And if you've already failed, you don't want to fail again, the pain of that. The fear of loss is another thing. Because many times when we do those things that we know we need to do, we feel that we might lose somebody. Many of us don't act because we want other people's approval, and that's not possible. Many of us don't do the things that we want to do and don't act because of lack of self-confidence. We don't believe enough in ourselves.
Watch out for we's, because people will control you with a we, and you will miss your opportunity trying to be loyal to the we, and all of a sudden, in order to fit in your sociological environment, you passed up the promotion, you passed up the position that you wanted to take because you want the people you're sitting beside to like you and accept you.
The little decisions that you make, they matter. They add up, and you have to connect those dots. Otherwise, you don't know where you're going to end up, and it might be bad.
I just beat me. This ain't about nobody else. I just beat me. If I can keep beating myself, pause, if I can keep doing that, then that means that I'm in a battle with the only person that I really want and beat, and that's me. I don't care about anybody else. I have no worry or gripe about the next man or woman's journey. That's not what I'm up against. If I can continue to outdo me from the day before, then I'm ahead.
I will learn that life is the collection of experiences, highs and lows, laughter and tears. You must decide to act. You must have the discipline to act. One discipline affects another discipline. Everything affects everything else. Nothing stands alone.
If you're always seeking a certain status to validate who you are, you're never going to have peace. You can't climb up to find yourself. You have to find yourself so you can climb up. So you can be who you are before anybody knows who you are. If you listen at discouragement, it will cause you to make bad decisions. It will cause you to think that life is not worth living. And secretly, behind the facade of a smile and a good morning and a praise the Lord and a how are you, you will wonder if you're ever going to get out of what you're into.
One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're sad. Now that's that thing called life. And when we begin to understand and know that, accepting that reality, that we will never ever have things just on an even keel all the time, that you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs. But during those down moments, that's where the growth takes place. That's where the work is. Anybody can feel good when they have their health, their bills are paid, they have happy relationships, the children are acting normal, business is successful. Anybody could be positive then. Anybody can have faith under those kinds of circumstances. See, but the real challenge of growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, comes when you get knocked down. Adversity introduces a man to himself or a woman. How you handle it, that's where the growth takes place.
Most of y'all have visions and ideas that are sent to you, and you're trying to explain it to other people, and because they were never sent the vision, most of y'all say, well, maybe it's not meant to be. That was something that God sent you. That was your vision, your idea. It's not his or not hers. So what ends up happening is your family, your friends, they end up talking you out of your individual experience that you have with God.
I don't know what kind of odds are against you today, physically, financially. I don't know what kind of storm has come or trying to come into your life. If you wait too long to decide what you're going to do with your life, you'll find out that you've already done it. You have to learn to start where you are. Big doors swing on little hinges.
When you start renaming it and you start reframing it and you choose to remain in it, what happens is you produce this word. It's called resiliency. The righteous man, he falls 7 times, but he gets back up. I'm choosing today to get back up, to remain in the grind.
We all have these tough moments in life. And see, they can make you or they can break you. Come on now, come on, bring it, come on now. I had to replace fearfulness with being fearless and take the initiative to do something else with my life.
Greatness is not inherited. It's not the result of birth, in other words. You can be born high and live low. Or you can be born low, but you can still live high. Your greatness is not determined by your pedigree or the family that you were born into. Your parents can be great and you can be a dummy.
The key to your future is the successful management of time and change. You can't stop time, so all you can do with them is manage them. And you become what you are based on how you manage both of them.
Step back and ask yourself the question, what do I do that's absolutely amazing? What do I do that's effortless to me? And what makes me feel confident? Figure that out. Whatever that may be, hold on to that and focus in on that and anchor into it. So when you do go into this new skill, realize it's a process, just like the other skills you've learned on your journey. The more you practice something, the better you get at it.
Commit yourself to learning. Feed your mind. Sharpen your interest in 2 major subjects, life and people. Learn more on how to get the most from life. Learn all that you can so that you can become all that you can become. Learning is the beginning of a life worth living. Learning is the beginning of happiness. Learning is the beginning of spirituality and faith. Learning and searching is where the process of creating your own personal miracle begins.
Greatness does not have to have the approval of everyone. And if you are the kind of person that will have to have the approval of everyone and understanding of everyone, you'll never achieve greatness. Greatness is uncommon. Greatness is not something that you see a lot. It distinguishes you from the crowd. It makes you stick out when you become great.
We find ourselves announcing our standards to our relatives, our friends, our associates. We shout our beliefs and condemn those who believe any differently, but then we don't walk the talk. Do as I say, not as I do. This is inconsistent. This leads to a loss of credibility among those who watch us.
Find somebody close enough to you that has observed you or been around you that you value their opinion, and ask them, how do they see you? And then compare what you have with what they say. See, there are things many times that people can see in us and we can't see because it's a blind spot.
also equates to a non-existence of a great life. And so embrace the fact that you're going to have to sacrifice and suffer to some extent. Once you've embraced that it's going to happen, it's almost not that bad. It's kind of like those of you that are fit. You've sort of accepted that before you go to the gym and get there, you're going to have to suffer. And we go anyway. It becomes a habit.
It takes discipline to change a habit, because habits are formed a little bit each day, every day. Once habits are formed, they act like a giant cable that only long-term disciplined activity can change. It takes the consistent application of a new discipline, a more desirable one, to overcome one which is less desirable. We must unweave every strand of the cable of habits slowly and methodically.
If it does not measure up to my expectations, I'm not going to invest my time. I don't have the luxury to waste time. I'm expecting some great things from life. So examine your expectations versus your wishes. Some people wish they could do better, but some people expect to do better. Where are you on that?
Anticipation is the ultimate advantage. Winners, leaders anticipate, losers react. The reason you get beat is you don't know where things are happening, so you're reacting. Reaction is always stressful. And yet so much of our life is predictable if we just were to study it, not be caught up in our day-to-day. It's predictable the challenges you're gonna have in your relationships or with your kids or with your body. These are predictable. And if you were to anticipate these things and put a strategy in place, you could take it all out and have the quality of life that you deserve. Those that anticipate, those that lead, and then there's those that follow. The followers are the reactionaries.
The system we live in and contribute to is designed to make the easiest things in life the most unprofitable. Our world is and always will be a constant battle between the life of ease and its momentary rewards and a life of discipline. Each has its own price, the price of discipline or the price of regret. We will pay one or the other.
Somebody said there is some good in the worst of us and some bad in the best of us. I want you to become involved in an active process to get some clutter out of your life. Start working on it. I'm going home tonight to clean my closets. Let's go home. Let that be our task this week.
Time is an amazing power. Every day, week, month, or year is a gift given to us by God to complete a task.
The human mind isn't used merely because we take it for granted. Familiarity breeds contempt. It can do any kind of job we assign to it, but generally speaking, we use it for little jobs instead of big important ones. Decide now. What is it you want? Plant your goal in your mind. It's the most important decision you ever make in your entire life.
Oh, when you give as much time and energy to your dream, to this new vision of yourself, I'll give you all your eyes can see. When you give as much time and energy to what you see, that creates the opening for miracles to show up in your life.
Do you want to be an outstanding salesman, a better worker at your particular job? Do you want to go places in your company, in your community? All you've got to do is plant that seed in your mind. Care for it. Work steadily toward your goal, and it will become a reality.
Dream chasing isn't for the serious. It's for the sincere. And the difference between being serious and being sincere is that serious people have a can-do attitude. Sincere people have a must-do attitude. That's how dreams become reality. They become a must. My children must survive. My life must change.
Now, if knowledge is power, if knowledge is the forerunner to success, then why do we fall short of our objectives? Do we find ourselves aimlessly wandering, settling for a life of existence rather than a life of substance? There may be many answers to this question. The fundamental answer is the absence of discipline.
Motivate doesn't mean to yell and scream and encourage. To motivate actually means to provide a motive, a reason why.
Picture yourself in your mind's eye as having already achieved this goal. See yourself doing the things you will be doing when you've reached your goal.
You know, what would you want from your friendships? What would you want from your intimate relationship? How would you like to structure your family? Well, how are you going to use your time outside of your job? And how are you going to regulate your mental and physical health, and maybe also your drug and alcohol use?
Typically, discouragement strikes at the midpoint of a project. Halfway up the mountain, you go, I still got to get to the top, and then I got to get all the way back. We get discouraged when something takes longer than I expected.